All right. Welcome. I want to thank you guys for coming on to the His Advocates Q&A weekly Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific call. It's actually something I really like doing because, I get a platform to where I can air out a little bit my concerns for what's going on in the world. And at the same time, it's a platform for us to have questions and things that are answered that are super important. I wanted to kind of talk about the trickery a little bit before we get into the Q&A of the different elements that we find as it relates to IRS rules, IRS terms, terminology, their notion of state citizenship on their end, and some of the facts to which they completely ignore that are super important. And the two most important facts that everything boils down to for us as state citizens is, have you revoked the election? Have you canceled your signature? And number one. Number two, are you holding an office that they can prove? And when you sit in that one area, and in the likeness of every single case that they talk about how they granted or got jurisdiction over somebody, you will find that every single party contracted one way or the other to the IRS, or where they could prove that you were actually holding an office, or you actually did something that said, I was a U.S. person, I'm a U.S. citizen, or I'm an individual, or these terms and terminologies where we get these opportunities to hold offices. So I want to be writing something exclusively to a response to basically anti-tax law evasion schemes, the laws and the arguments that the IRS produces, so we can one by one have a dialogue about them and really go after it. And it's not because we have ever had a single hiccup or a single issue. Um, and I don't know why God does what God does, but when you look at the nature of how we all go through things in life and how we get brought to a point of understanding contracts and contract law. Um, every single person, a man or woman, has a right to contract, and they have a right to have a job, and they have a right to these things that they're not really considering, like a job as a U.S. citizen, a that's an important office that a lot of people are holding on a daily basis. And those are the things to which we really need to wrap our minds around and help people with. And it's unfortunate that the trickery and the game playing, because when you look at the IRS, you will not find any law. You'll find code, IRS code. You will not find law, any positive law given by the United States Congress pertaining to the IRS's and a U.S. citizen's requirement to pay taxes. So it's got to boil down to something. And it boils down to you applying for a job with an employer and requesting, to fill out some paperwork, and you're going to fill out a W-4 or W-9. It's a contract. It's a self-induced, what I would call adhesion, uh, trust. And nobody's countersigning it. It is a contract. Nobody's countersigning it. You're self-executing your right to be the liablee for that agreement. And they're the grantor. Just look at the face at the top, says IRS, and they're the beneficiary. Look at the back, read the terms. And you're saying, I'm going to hold this job and the responsibility of this job. And today, my job is taxpayer. And today, my job is U.S. person. And so when you start to bridge the gap of understanding, like what is these terms and terminologies, it's really something that I want to get clear about with people, because you can hold those terms. You can hold them over yourself and say, yeah, that's me. And you essentially do it when you open up a bank account. This is why, if I was to look at every person ever indicted for tax fraud or whatever the IRS is doing, And this isn't to say that, taxes are all illegal. They're not really, if you consider it. I mean, I think they're atrocious. I think that they are a scam, but illegal, no. Um, you have a right to self-contract, and you have a right to not contract. And let's just say this for a second. Let's just stay there right there. And the argument of a lot of people is that they're going in saying that this is income or not income, or they're saying I'm not an individual, I'm not a US person, I'm not a US citizen. And then what happens is they bring forward proof that you said that's what you were. They show you an application to a bank account. They show you a W-4 and you're like, oh, and you're left, biting your tongue. And so there's really this thing that you have to do to bridge the gap. And like for me, um, I like the safety net of not having anything come through the name of my birth certificate. I just don't want to utilize that. I don't have bank accounts registered in that name and I don't use anything. And there's this unknowing that people have in their mind. It's like, don't I have to do? No, you don't, especially if you understand that you are a like, look, read the book, you know, nowhere in the IRS code pertaining to state citizenships are they going to discuss out, uh, you know, state citizenship cases that delineate the difference of U.S. citizen and state citizen. And nowhere are they going to point out to the fact that, if anything, they're going to say that's misunderstood or this is what, and they're going to fight it from the element of the fact that a case has already been decided. Well, what was really decided was that you are in fact holding an office, that you are in fact in agreement, that you in fact made a contract. That's really what's happening in those cases. The element of even under IRS code, if you don't produce a certain amount of income, you don't have to file a return. Meaning, if I think the number's 12,000, I don't know. I'm not a CPA. But if you don't make over 12,000 a year coming into, a W-2 or coming into a personal bank account, if you will, if you don't make over 12,000, then you don't have to file a return. Well, that's just flat out stating that if the money going into your bank account is not income as defined under law, you don't have to file a return. And not everything going into your bank account is determined as income. And this is something that even the enrolled agents, people that used to work directly for the IRS that have become kind of like a tax protester, if you will, citing more or less an accountant, a glorified accountant with an extra layer saying I was an employee of the IRS and da 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 da. Um, the enrolled agents will flat out tell you that just money hitting your personal bank account does not constitute a taxable liability and it's not income. So, what is a taxable liability? A W-4 sign that gets a W-2 at the end of the year. The question is that a taxable liability for a state citizen that continues to enroll in the W-4 and the private right to contract? See, even a state citizen needs to check himself. A state citizen can do any contract he wishes. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court and the Constitution stipulates that man's right to private contract is the highest form of law there is. So if I wish to be lesser of a person and hold a job known as U.S. citizen, U.S. person, taxpayer, I can do that. And if I get a W-2, then I have a fiscal responsibility to file a return because that's the obligation of the job known as U.S. citizen. And that's just an important thing that we have to remember. But on the flip side, if you were to fill out an appropriate form, not registering yourself, not turning yourself over, not agreeing to being a taxpayer like a W-4T or a modified WABEN or what have you, there is a pretty obvious response. in that the contract that you have with the IRS is null. It's not there. And it goes to one of the questions I have tonight about non-assumpsit and all that stuff. And I will address that. Um, so we are going to address this line by line, and we're going to look, it's going to take us some time. We're going to look at some of these cases that the IRS proposes, and I'm going to boil it down to the brass tacks of why all of these people hung themselves out to dry. Because here at His Advocates, listen, if you follow the procedures and you do the elements that you're supposed to be doing, and you're operating things through the private and not through that public side, and you file your IRS documents and you're utilizing the foundation, you have got flak jacket after flak jacket of Kevlar put on your shoulders, protecting you like you've never been before. And it's one of the most important things that we get our minds wrapped around. See, being an American, being born free, and this is some of the terms that they use, but they'll never go down that road of those terms and truly what they mean. What they do is they have evidentiary hearings to prove that A, you are that person. Number two, to prove that they've had a contract in play with you for some period of time and that you didn't cancel, you didn't revoke an election, and you continue to fill out these W-2s, and yet you say, I'm a free man. Are you? Because that free man has a private right to contract. He can be a lesser of a man that day and go and fill out and say, I want to be a U.S. person. I want to be an individual. I want to be a U.S. citizen. And then he can go open up a bank account, not cover his track, not cover his ducks, and just lay it out there in the open and say, yeah, I want to receive money into this personal bank account, stating that on the signature card, I'm a U.S. person, I'm a U.S. citizen. You're doing all these things. You know what I teach. And I teach that you have to have that reservation in all things. And I teach that you can't, unless you have the full reservation, you can't agree to those terms on a 1040, on a W-4, on a W-9. You can't. You have to modify it. And there is nothing against the law with modifying governmental forms. As a matter of fact, in the DS-11, pages 1 and 2, the Secretary of Department of State's application for a passport, they flat out say in the oath of uh, in that oath right before you sign, they flat out, you are attesting to the validity of the document. And if there's any changes or alterations to the document, then you must submit an explanatory statement. It's right there, right above where you sign. So easy now to submit the explanatory statements because it's right there. It's just easy. And so we make all these changes, we make all these adjustments, and then we help people become truly state citizens, truly people that are coming out, people that are making the modification. But is the stopgap just getting a passport? And the answer is no. You are in fact a state citizen upon the application of a passport. But the second you start operating that person, um, once again, meaning the birth certificate, and you are holding an office and you're filling out new documents, you've got to consider dealing with those documents. You've got to consider modifying them to your benefit. And a modification could be something as simple as non-assumption under your signature. It could be something as simple as ARR, without prejudice, non-assumptive. It could be, any number of things, but we cannot agree with them. Okay? That's the bottom line. And if I were to look at every single case, I would show you where they agreed. I would show you where they weren't even a state citizen. They did some funky affidavit, put it in the public, and kept operating their driver's license the same way it was, kept operating their personal bank accounts the same way that it was, not addressing anything, not addressing the applications that they use to gain federal indictments, federal warrants, not addressing those things. So when we are working together to make an understanding, we are going to show just how far they go. Do you know there are cases where they sat down with the IRS under deposition, and for an hour and a half, the IRS ducks the law they are using to apply to a U.S. citizen having to pay taxes? Period. It is all 100% voluntary. The government agrees with that. They don't put that out there, but there is Congress that has said it is a voluntary act in public forums and public hearings. And that's just a flat out statement. See, if a U.S. citizen, quote unquote, were, and here's the sad element. Here's the sad element because there is that wow factor that they always go after one guy and then they put it through the public and then they humiliate him, and like the Bitcoin's twins, and the different people out there that are fighting. There's a guy that they're trying to arrest where he revoked his US citizenship and then he went and moved to another country and then he made a ton of money and now they're coming after him. I'm like, how are they getting subject matter jurisdiction over the guy? And there are things I'm sure that he is doing that can grant that jurisdiction over him, just like there's things that a green card holder does when he comes here, like a driver's license, that grants jurisdiction of the United States over that person on that federal territory. Anybody has a God-given unalienable right to contract with a corporation, and that's all the IRS is, and that's all that the United States is. The United States of America is not a corporation, it's a trust indenture, and it's coast to coast, and it's made of 50 several states of the Union. The element of the United States corporation is incorporated with exclusive jurisdiction in the District of Columbia, and they have a way of arguing this, like through Larry B. Kraft and these various different cases that he brought, and fighting the IRS, and God bless these guys. But isn't there just a bottom line that you first got to get rid of the contracts? Okay. How do you get rid of contracts that are active? Well, you got to make a claim and clearly outline who you are. And if state citizenship is real, we know that it is. Here's my book. What does it mean to be an American? Go and grab it. If state citizenship is real, and it is, what are the elements around that that still grant jurisdiction? And why is the IRS wording things in a format that says no matter what, state citizens are U.S. citizens? No, no, no. See, that's one of the cases that they bring forward. All persons born or naturalized in the United States. There's a whole lot of questions right there in that one statement. What is born? What is naturalized? What is the United States? There's a whole lot of things to think about when you're discussing Constitution. There's a whole lot of things to think about when you're discussing a Supreme Court ruling. Like, how did they get to that conclusion? And I will guarantee it, they had subject matter jurisdiction. The guy did not come out. The guy still partied. Still, and I don't mean party, just he was a party to the agreement with the United States. He still used the artificial person that he does not control completely. And that's a sad facts. And this is why when you read warrants and indictments and you understand how they gain jurisdiction, there's easy ways to reverse engineer that. And I think we're the only guys in the world that are doing that. And guys, look, I'm not professing that we are exclusive to something unique. I will say that nobody else has what we have by far. There's nobody out there doing what we're doing. There's nobody doing it with proficiency or intent or care or with a business mindset or with due diligence, follow up, document prep, with you know all of that. And yet it's funny, not we occasionally get the troll who will find what's wrong, not with our docs, just with the business that we're trying to push forward as a ministry to help the masses. And they'll realize, hey, where's this? Where's that? No, we don't have a standard operating procedure for every set of docs. We have an explanation cover page of what to do with those docs. We don't need to break down every single doc. You can go and look up all the case sites yourself. And but the point is the standard operating procedures, the definitions, and all those things. No, it isn't. It isn't all the way there yet. And our knowledge base, not all the way there yet. We're getting there. This is something that is a lifetime in the making. Yeah, 15 years and holding strong and going forward and getting that knowledge and pushing it forward into a book and then having a website that I'll be the first to explain. Yeah, hisadvocates.org has so much information. It's confusing to a lot of people. I get it. And we're working that out. You know, I just want to have a good record and a clean record, and I don't want to hurt anybody. And so that's my priority, not to have the best and the brightest and the prettiest layers and all of that. Someday that'll get fulfilled. Someday the knowledge base will be perfected. Someday, people will have to not hear a question and answer scenario like this. But even then, when you have the trickery of what the IRS does, and stating boldly that even as a state citizen, you are required to pay taxes. I'm just telling you what they say. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. As a matter of fact, I need you to know this. They lie and they lie and they lie. There is not one single public law in play allowing for the IRS to tax Americans. Not one. And you can watch video after video of people asking them poignant questions that they duck and duck and duck and duck. They don't have it. They never will. It is a man's private right to contract, and they will never disclose that in a case. And the contracts that the man has is the subject matter jurisdiction granted over the federal government and the IRS to do what they do against the people. And so we have got to be smarter than them. And that means we need to dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's. Can a state citizen be just a state citizen? I proved it in my book. A Supreme Court proved that you don't have to be both. And so the IRS's little scheme, anti-tax law evasion scheme that they say about state citizens or what's the other one they use? American nationals or sovereign citizens. What they are saying is a complete lie. Because if I only find one lie and I find multiple on their website pertaining to things about people trying to be free, if I only find one lie, that means they are liars. And that's just the facts because the Supreme Court has determined that you are not both. Okay. You can be both, but you also can be individual. You don't have to be both. How can you be both if you were born in the District of Columbia? You're just one. You can't be both. So you can be one or the other or both. It's by contract. It's by the style of the job that you have. Driver is a job, you know, a U.S. citizen, job, U.S. person, job, voter, it's a job. All of those are jobs. And when we get that through our head, We can quit the job, keep the benefit of holding the license so we don't get pulled out by our hair by law enforcement until that day that they say you have to have this digital ID, this shot, this proof, this injected whatever, this nanoparticulate chip, whatever, to have a driver's license. When that day comes, I'm cutting it all. And I will be able to do that. And so will you. And we will live free and we will stand. And there will be community, and that it won't be as harsh as people think, because we are the forethinkers, and God is a protector of his people. He will not let us go through the judgment of the plagues that are coming to the people that are not. The people that are coming out are not going to receive the judgment of the plagues. The people that are staying in will. That means even believers, even people with good hearts. Those people that don't listen and don't come out, absolutely, they're going to get smacked in the face with a reality check that your money, your time, your dedication towards this worldly system is absolutely proved up, and your equity dollars that you've produced with your time to go into that system. This is that important. If you can trail $1 from the total batch of dollars the IRS collects to crime, that's one thing. And I get it. I would have an argument that they weren't a La Cosa Nostra. But here we have an organization that is not found anywhere in public law, that is forcing people, coming after 1 out of 1,000 to make an example, forcing people by contract and intimidation and coercion, and then utilizing the money, listen to me, to pay the debt of a corporation. And that money funds operations at a multi-trillion-dollar annually basis around the world that are doing destruction and death and. So if you're not hearing about 500,000 kids being found every year, that means they're still missing. And that means there's a cover up because they're not discussing it. If you're not hearing clear, decisive evidence, and I can give you 2 websites where you can go and look up vaccinations and make a determination for yourself if they are healthy, and you're still hearing them talk about it, producing it. And there's this new thing called unknown cause. Number one cause of all death in America is an unknown cause of death, where cardiac disease is up 1,000-fold, 1,000 times, where the immune systems have broken down on everybody. If you're not hearing a counter narrative coming against those things, your tax dollars are going to fund a whore. Revelations 18:4. A La Cosa Nostra at the grandest of scales. And you are a party to that. And that's something Christians need to hear and start thinking through. Yes, it is a mystery who that whore is, what that whore is. It's not the Vatican. The Vatican is the beast. The thing that runs the Vatican is the beast. Sorry. I know I got some Catholics on the call. Love you guys. Not going after your faith. I'm going after the leadership and really truly what a lot of people don't know about that whole organization. Just finishing up this head cold. Oh, by the way, guys, for days we have had this fog in California. I know what fog does. It dissipates with sun. It doesn't keep coming back when the sun gets more and more as the sun raises throughout the day. The fog dissipated, multi layers of fog, but it took hours for it to dissipate. And then from LA, I saw this dark layer of fog come rolling in. I get to watch it because I'm on a hill. How does fog exist when it's 70 whatever degrees outside and the sun is shining? How does it come into a sunny area? Is there really anybody that's going to respond to that with anything intellectual? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. As a matter of fact, there's news media outlets discussing it's called a radiation fog. I don't know what that is. I have not verified or validate that. But if your government is not addressing that, not addressing the chem spray that is legal, but hurting people, there's just a byproduct of them trying to protect the earth, to cool the earth. That's literally the argument for barium, aluminum, and strontium being sprayed into the skies. So if you're not seeing the change on that, you know your dollars by an operation of law are going towards the murder, the unhealthy nature of making Americans sick and sicker and dying. And it's time. It's time. And I don't care what the IRS produces forward with what their belief system is, because I know that there's a 2016 Supreme Court ruling allowing the federal government to lie to its people for propaganda purposes. And they've been doing it for a lot longer than 2016. So I would encourage you guys to think, really think about what's going on in the world. And do you really want to play ball in that? On that note, if you are an existing or past living in the private member, we are coming to you with a Christmas gift. And the gift only is allowed to you guys. Yes, our prices are changing next month. Yes, if you are coming into the living in the private program, our prices are substantially discounted compared to what they're going to be next month. But if you're an existing member, call the guy that signed you up now, because you can pay for somebody in your family at 50% off the full package at current prices. It's unreal. We've never, ever been that low, but it will only come through existing living in the private members. So if you have somebody in mind, and I don't care what your agreement is with them, if you pay for them, you get 50% off current pricing for the LPP. And I'm telling you right now, it's it's going to blow the socks off and allow for hundreds, if not thousands, of people to get involved. And so I'm asking that you talk to your family, you talk to your friends, and if you're an LPP member right now, you consider working a deal with them so that you can pay for them to get into this program at the discounted rate. Because next month is going to be different. Number one. Number two, for VIP members this weekend, I have not done the marketing for it yet. Um, 12 o'clock Pacific, we are doing a training, and I'm going to specifically focus on the Treasure Model 7 right here. Big screen, quantum proof, quantum computing proof, supposedly. And we're going to talk about how to create multiple wallets within this. We're going to talk about how to create multiple, you can get up to whatever, I think it's 10 different addresses for XRP. So you don't need to out yourself because if somebody has your address, they can see how much you have. So you can have multiple accounts on your device, merge them together, and then have one account with one number showing a low balance. And we're going to show you how to do things is pretty cool. We're going to show you how to make deposits, make withdrawals, and protect yourself. And we're really going to get into protection and show you how to operate. If people would be operating the way that we discuss, the way that I discuss with our VIP members, how to hold your crypto, nobody would ever lose their crypto. And there's a whole lot to say about that, but it's super important that you guys mark out the date this coming Saturday. I think it is the 20th, 12 o'clock Pacific. and it'll be at least a couple of hours. We're going to go through a training and then a Q&A, and we're going to try to get you guys fully onboarded and into becoming private crypto wise. All right, let's get into some of the questions. Um, First question. A potential donor claims they can only give to tax exempt organization. They talked to accounting and Googled it, and now they don't want to make a donation because it's not a 501c3, and they question whether the foundation is tax exempt. What can we tell them? Sonny, that's actually pretty easy because there are Supreme Court rulings. I'm sure you can just go ask AI what they are pertaining to unincorporated churches that are allowed to receive contributions, and donations is the word. That's the problem. But where contributions can be received and where they can make deductions to those entities, and they do it all the time. I've had way bigger than your friends or your family or whoever's making the donations be able to make a deduction on their end. All they need is a tax ID number and an invoice. So there are some Supreme Court rulings that deal with that, and there's also state law in every state that protects these styles of entities from the standpoint that nobody can just come against them and say no, and so take a minute, look that up, and we'll address that further if you want. Next question. Alex, thank you for all this. I've been learning as fast as I can, but it's not easy. Ha ha. Forgive me as I seem to get twisted around here. If I pen to paper non-assumption and therefore not contracting with the bank to open up an account, does that mean they can claim the funds are not mine? Great question. Heather, um, let me say it to you this way. The second that you open up a bank account and make a deposit, the funds are not yours. I mean, I'm just saying. When you make a deposit, you're depositing it for credit on account, so you're giving up the money. Now, are they going to say that you don't have access to the credits that are or the digits that are on the account because of the fact that you wrote non-assumption and they figured that out maybe down the road? No, they're not going to do that. They'll just maybe close your account or something to that degree, and then you have to go open it up somewhere else. But no, they don't do that at all. Hey Ben, I don't do a live Q&A here, so post your question in the Q&A and I'll be more than happy to respond. So I see your hand, but just post your question to the Q&A because I got a lot of questions, Ben. Um, Three of the properties I want to transfer to the foundation have unlawful liens against them. Should I have backdated the foundation to a date prior to their levying? No, you can't forge anything. Can I transfer the properties while I work out the lien issues in the courts? So Mr. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Bride? Anyway, what I would do, I'm going to guess that you have IRS liens, and you need to know that there's an IRS code that says if you are a U.S. citizen, or excuse me, if they have a lien against you, it only applies to employees of the United States. The IRS, this is why we know you're holding an office called employmentship. And this is why when we bring people into the living in the private program, we ask the government for proof that you were never employed with the government. There are some people that were, but people that weren't, we ask for the dates and the date range. And it's generally a past employmentship showing that they're no longer or never were employed. Hence, the IRS code that where a lien applies on a house, on a job, on a garnishment, whatever, only is for U.S. employees. In other words, you have a right under their own IRS code to have the lien forcefully removed from the home. And we've done that before. So if I were you, I would let me know what the liens are first. And that's probably going to be the answer to your question. Second question, what are the next steps for transferring or transacting property deeds to eliminate property taxation? So everybody has this question. They don't want to be taxed on properties. And number one, you have to have a properly formatted deed in a foundation name, and that still does not automate the process for you to become tax exempt. There will be a application process, and that application is very much a tricky application. What they want you to do is fill out the application for tax exemption. This isn't an application. This is basically a notification of tax exempt status. And so we have kind of letters that we do to assist people that are notifying the county. And the county is absolutely going to fight you on this. They are not just going to let it go. But we do have people that have successfully fought the fight and don't pay taxes on their properties being held under a foundation that we created for them. It is a fight. It is not going to be a laydown. They are not giving up, especially when it comes to this, because they love money. All right. And if you are taking two, three, four, one, whatever properties out of their ability to tax, it's going to be a forever thing because that foundation will never, ever let go of that land. I guarantee it. I would sell a house and the foundation if I was going to sell a tax exempt piece of land that I had. I would say, look, this, yeah, here's the foundation. I would, of course, make sure they are a believer like his advocates does with everybody. But the bottom line is, um, I would sell the house with the foundation. I mean, can you imagine having a piece of land that you never have to pay tax on again? I don't know if people, a lot of people don't realize this, that land that was held in fee simple absolute back in the day, like in 50s and 60s, didn't have a land tax on them, didn't have tax at all. And so that's just number one step. It's a properly recorded deed in the style to which the vesting is fee simple absolute. That's a name of a style of vesting, and you're holding land and you're holding it in an untaxable, tax exempt organization. It should be tax exempt, period. Okay, next question. I know how Kelby feels about loans, so I want to make sure I'm going about this the right way. I have a foundation bank account going through B of A. I want to finance a vehicle using an auto loan from B of A, and I have a vehicle owned by the foundation. The reason for the bank loan is that the monthly payments on the loan are more favorable than the monthly car note payments. For context, I do not currently own a vehicle. How do I accomplish this correctly? By taking on an auto loan, I am putting the foundation at risk of any kind. Number one, we don't do loans through a foundation. Even if you can get one, we don't recommend that you contract a foundation into becoming a debtor. God is very strict about how he feels about debtors. And that's really the biblical principle of why we don't want people to utilize loans or what have you. Now, I do understand that just because you have a loan, there are tax strategies. Well, as a state citizen, there is no tax strategy requirement. As a foundation, there is no tax strategy requirement. So I guess I would need to know because your question, although it might be clear to you, is a little vague to me. I'm trying to understand. I guess you're getting financing that's better than the car note you already got, and you want to because the car is in the foundation name, you want to finance through the foundation. You can have a car in the foundation name, and you can. Um, it'll be a little difficult to use that as the collateral for a note because you're not the owner. You would have to prove that the foundation, in fact, was a probably a registered organization before they would even finance a vehicle. This is why it's so beautiful because they don't have jurisdiction over it. And once they realize it's not a registered organization and that it's in fact unregistered, they probably won't do business with you. It's like, I don't know of anybody that has unsecured loans in a foundation name, even if they're securing the loan personally, as as a man or a woman using their own credit, signing off on the fact that the foundation is good for the debt, which again, that's another biblical principle God says do not do. So, um, I guess I would need a more clear context of your question. My apologies. I don't necessarily, if you want to repost that under the Q&A section here, I'll be more than happy to try to address it for you. Next question. Having an IRS wage execution issues where the IRS has sent my employers, I've had more than several lock-in letters, my employers, which instructs them to lock in the highest tax withholding rate. Who can assist? So, okay, so the IRS is stating that you are required to pay tax and requesting that your employers lock in a certain dollar amount, 35%, I'm guessing, to be removed prior to your payment. Is that correct? And if that is correct, I have a slew of questions for you. Number one, are you a state citizen? Number two, have you revoked the election to pay uh, uh, and do the revocation of election, do the removal of signature, and do the notice of status with the IRS? And what kind of W-4 have you filled out? Is it a W-4T? Is it a W-4? Or is it a W-8 BEN? I would flip the contract from a W-4 to a W-8 BEN, and I would bring you proof that you are a state citizen to your employer. And then I would have a suit with your employer if they did not accept that as a state of the union citizen, because there's plenty of Supreme Court rulings that show state citizens are different than U.S. citizens. You would have proof of your status and standing with the Department of State, uh, uh, certified copies of your DS-11 pages 1 and 2. You would have proof of the revocations. You would have proof of the removals. You'd have proof of the notices of status. And you have every right to fill out a privately executed W-8 BEN, slightly conformed for a state citizen, because you are not a resident, you are not a person, you are not uh, a non-resident alien. You are simply a state citizen. They don't want people to realize that there are options. And so there's a lot to consider with your question, but I would fight the good fight. And um, you can literally have um, an attorney help you or assist you, or ChatGPT help you or assist you from a legalese standpoint. Write the letters showing the Supreme Court rulings within ChatGPT and just have it execute a letter demanding the W-8 BEN form change, and then the IRS can't demand anything because you're a non-resident alien. Now, I do know that there is a case out there regarding non-resident aliens for the W-8 BEN, but our W-8 BEN is not stipulating you as a non-resident alien. It's stipulating you as a state citizen, which according to the Supreme Court is non-taxable. So that's the issue, is convincing a low-level, low-paid HR department who you are. And I've never said that was going to be easy. I never said it was going to be a lay down, but that's the issue. And I will support you any way that I can to help you get that dialed in. Okay, next, I'm a part way through the LPP process. My foundation has a bank account. Can I use the foundation to accept an inheritance? Yes, on behalf of my straw man. If the trustee is willing to do that, yeah. Is there any way I can read about this and what I should know? A law firm is handling the parents' trust and creating additional trust for the siblings, but it may not need all the lawyers to perform that costly service since I already have a 50C, 508. You don't have a 508C1A created by his advocates. Just remember something, guys. I'm not creating entities designated under the IRS code. If you were to look at the IRS code, and if you were to make an assumption, the 508C1A would stipulate that's the closest thing that is in the IRS code showing and why we do it, that you are tax exempt and do not have a need to file a return. But the second you want to go and apply to be a tax exempt organization as a 508C1A, you're going to need their approval. You don't need their approval. Okay. An unregistered key term, private foundation is not the same thing as a private foundation under IRS code. A private foundation under IRS code is a 508C1 or 501C3 with a tax designation of a private foundation. We're just private. We're not public. So you don't have a 508c1a, but that is the closest thing to define who you are under the IRS code. So that's why we say that. Now, no attorney is going to steer from a trust with the execution of the will of the trust. However, if it were me, um, I would ask the attorney if I could sell my rights and interest in the trust to my foundation and let them tell you what they're going to tell you. Because there is no difference in you selling your rights or interest into a foundation than you selling your rights or interest into a private trust. It's no different. You got to give it up so that you can be the beneficial interest in the trust. Something needs to be the payee, and it's going to be something with a tax ID number that they create, registered, by the way. So there's no difference. So let's just do it straight to my foundation and see what they say. Start there. That's all I have for you. Because they will fight. They're just there to make money, just like you. And they want to get paid as quickly as they can. All right, first question under the Q&A for Jesus is King. It's a great name. I sell concert stage. You got to rephrase that. Can I sell them through the foundation that you set up for me? I sell concert stage. What does that mean? You sell stages that you create for concert? You sell tickets? What? I don't know. Rephrase that. I was gonna get into selling Amazon and got a tax ID number and then found you. Is there something you look, a foundation can sell anything except sinful things. That's it. Jesus, Yahshua, Yah, the Elohim owns it all, owns everything on this earth. Revelations 5. He owns the title deed to the earth. So you can pledge anything you want, including how you conduct your affairs, to the foundation and let that receive payments. The foundation has a private right to contract with any man or woman it wishes. So there would be that element of having a private agreement in place before you do a transaction. But yes, but I don't know what you do. So be a little more clear with what you do, and I'll address that. Thank you, though. For LPP members, you mentioned that the prices will be different moving forward. No, I did not. I said, yes, I did, John. Yes, month. Yes, month. Next month. I'm getting tired, John. I'm sorry, bro. It's been a long week. Yeah, I know. It's Monday at 5, whatever. Um, Next month they are going to change. Prices for the LPP members will be going up, yes, for moving forward. I've not paid the lifetime VIP membership. Is that going to stay the same price for LP? That's going to go up a bit, not as much, but it's going to go up a bit. Or is it going to change as well? And if so, when? We're going to do a lot of dramatic things around the beginning part of next year. But John, for your family, your friends, or anybody else who got considered in this, if they pay through you, you can get them right now at a discounted rate of 50% off the current rates. Never going to do that again. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm really going to be pushing this because I want to see LPP members turn into really thinking through about who they want to get saved, and meaning free. So think about that, if you will. All right. I'm gonna go. All the questions are done here. Let me see if how do I pay off my side by side CF Moto? I don't know what you mean. What is going on, Kelvin? Me disturbing your channel? I am a knowledge seeker. Good for you. Don't let me put in a link. I don't know. I'm not over here stopping anybody from putting in a link. What do if IRS and past amount owed to a collection agency, can you dispute it like a regular past collection? Heck yeah. You know what people need to do is read the Federal Truth in Lending, the FDPCA, um, and the Federal Truth in Lending. If you guys understood those things, there's no collector that could ever collect a dime from you. LPP program. What if you move states? It doesn't matter if you move states. We just teach you on a go forward basis. My video don't open and you cannot patent it. Okay, I don't know what you're saying, my brother. I reword what you're saying. All right, got a couple more questions. All right, it's very difficult for me to have these kinds of conversations with people. It's really vetting process to see who will align their actions with their words. I'm having conversations with people, but it's taking quite some time. I get it, man. I get it. I can only make the offer. I'm doing my best. We did put a pretty dang good, compelling book together that helps a lot of people get through that. So you may want to consider that. I sell portable event stages. Yeah, you can do that through the foundation. Just the people you contract with, you're going to do a private contract and they're going to become a member, and that's how you sell it. Straight up. Another question. I have a 508c1A that I made before I started learning through you as it is registered. Do I get rid of it? I don't know. I don't know what level they did or how they registered it. Um, and if you have an IRS letter that they've in fact approved it. So existing 508s, what makes a jurisdictional position is requesting for approval of a status of a number. Literally, we grant you the approval that you are a 508c1A. So I don't know what letter you have, but that, take a picture of that, upload it. You can upload it right here to the comments. And I would never tell you to get rid of something you spent money on unless I knew the absolute structure of it beforehand. And I would say this is what I would do because, it's money, and and without me looking at it, it'd be an ignorant thing for me to do. Okay. I nailed it. 1 hour. Mm. Guys, we're coming up on Christmas time and, we're going to be giving Alex, he's pretty excited to take an unplug for about 10 days. We got, people coming in to help get the questions and everything dialed in on the back end of the back office. So I just want to say that we love you guys no matter what. Um, Next Monday is going to be the 22nd. We will be here at 4 p.m. I'm looking forward to doing a Q&A with you guys. This is my life. This is my heart. This is my dream to be able to free people. I just want to remind you guys, if you're an existing LPP member, there's a one and one and only time shot, to help somebody else at a substantially reduced rate. But the money's got to come through you. I'm not telling you what to do with them. I'm just telling you the money's got to come through you, through an existing LPP member. What this does is it turns your mind on to becoming a referral source for his advocates. We really need to change the heart and the minds of America and Americans to help them become free. And this is why I want to address what the IRS has to say. This is why I want to show you the tricks and the trickery and how they contort everything and lie, 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 lie. His advocates does not lie. And we've proven it. Okay. The Supreme Court has proven it. So why do they take knowing cases exist like these and lie and make people still think that no matter what, subject matter jurisdiction is automatic? It's a sad day. We live in a sad world, and it's an ugly world, and in a lot of different respects. But it's also probably one of the most beautiful things in creations. And we just got to keep our mind there that God wins in the end. We've already won. This is going to be a fun thing to watch play out, and I just want to stay as close and tight to God through the process. And I don't want to give one dime, not one dime to the whore, not one. not one intentful heart, not one thought, not one dime. So God bless you guys. I will see you for VIP members tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Big updates on for the VIP members tomorrow morning. You're gonna want to be there. Big updates on all the ETFs that are out for XRP, why the price is where it's at, and I just purchased a lot more on Friday, and then it came down again. If you're going to be buying, buy on Monday. Don't buy on Friday. I reversed it in my mind. I screwed up, and I just forgot, and I bought some on Friday. No big deal. I know where XRP is going to be in a year from now, and so we're all here hanging on. And it's not like the Dewang. It's not like the dinar. And I do want to say something about that. If you're holding the dinar or Dewang and you think you're going to get a revaluation, I just want to say I beg different. I beg different. If I were you guys, I would sell it as fast as you can, send it back, get a payment from them for your money, and buy some crypto assets or buy gold and silver. By the way, did y'all get to see the price of silver today? 65 bucks. Whoa. Yeah, lively. Um, couldn't believe that. 64 bucks right now. God bless. We're going to be in a different world, in a different state, and they're doing some weird things right now. You got to start following the aliens that are being spotted all over this world. You got to start following the demonic stuff that's going on all around this world, and it's going to get interesting. So just keep your eyes looking up, not at fake things in the sky, but look up towards the heavens and say, God, protect me. I receive your protection. I receive your love. I receive your covering over everything that I am responsible for you, including myself and my children. Say it all day, every day, and live that out because we're about to watch a massive lie and it's going to get weird. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. I will see you next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy.